Hey folks, and welcome along to the very first episode of Video Game Small Talk. I'm your host James Swinbanks. With me Hope Corrigan and Patrick Lum. We're here to guide you through the murky waters of video games here in 2019. Hello you two.
Hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
It's 2019.
I worked on a Sunday, so not great.
Oh, that sucks.
On
I'm sorry.
an Easter Sunday.
It's my job.
You're the
What's your
Easter
job,
Bunny?
Patrick?
No, my job, I'm a production assistant at The Guardian, so as it turns out, news continues even when Easter is Sunday.
It does.
Yeah, I honestly, I used to always work public holidays and stuff, and it never bothered me. I don't really care about them that much, but other people get really upset.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing, honestly.
If anyone who's worked a decent amount of time in either retail or hospitality knows all about working public holidays, or actually musicians as well. Musicians work a lot of public holidays, especially around Christmas.
If you have a family and you've got kids, I kind of get it. But, other than that, I'm okay, just give me more money, please.
Yeah, definitely.
Give me money for food and video games, the things that are important. Video games, that's the thing that we're here to talk about.
That's true.
Because apparently we know a thing or two about them. Hope.
Yes, sir.
What do you do? What do you do in the world of games?
As much and as little as possible. I tend to write and make videos and those kind of things. I do a lot of work for IGN, so I tend to write news, I make wikis, and I also have written the odd review and opinion piece. And I also write for Player 2, and at the moment I started writing for Power Up and bylines pretty much everywhere as one-offs.
Nice.
But yeah, I've been in the industry probably for about 7 years.
Wowza.
Pretending to talk about video games. Yeah.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
That's what we all do, is pretend to talk about video games. What about you, Pat?
If you do it enough, it turns out someone will eventually hand you a small pile of money, but not very big. A very small pile of money.
I think pile is the biggest exaggeration I've ever heard.
I mean, if it's all in 5-cent coins, it's still a pile. So I worked at PC Power Play and Hyper since, I think, 2009 up until we were just recently discussing before the recording started their demise. I've got a couple of bylines at Polygon, Kotaku AU, that sort of place. At the moment, I'm writing full-time, I'm working production full-time for The Guardian, and part of my contract is I can't write for other outlets. So that's it.
Nice. Do you get to write for The Guardian every now and again?
Yeah, I write.
I've seen you publish.
I've definitely
something
seen your name on things.
Yeah, I do reviews, I do whatever I can pitch to the UK branch, basically. It sort of hampers it in some ways because I have to make it either more global or very Australian, and it's one or the other.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
So
Sound like one of the fascinating things for writing about Australian sites or magazines is how much they want you to lean into being Australian. I remember writing for PC Power Play and Hyper being that way very much.
Yeah, you got to be really. Yeah, sorry.
They kind of have to, though, right? Otherwise, what's the point in Otherwise, people would just say that your content is exactly the same as the UK branch, and then the Australian branch would just get shut down, or it will anyway, apparently.
Yeah,
but it does mean yeah.
Oh.
I mean, we can fight them. We have to fight them.
We do.
It is always cool to read
fight.
the things when they're definitely done by Australians, though, because there are often little things that'll, I don't know, kind of make you feel like you relate to it a little bit more. Even if it's something small, the internet, right? It makes it less just because everything's so Americanized nowadays with content, and there's things that you just can't really relate to when you don't experience it. And
gosh, yeah, lots of really short production cycles and
people talking about really measurements,
intense voices and just
the podcaster voice of the American.
Oh, yeah. I've been listening to a lot of art podcasts recently, and a lot of them come out of North America, and they're just so American. It's so depressing. James, what do you do? Yeah, you didn't answer yourself.
What do I do? So I guess I haven't been writing about games for all that long, but I started back in 2014, and I predominantly write reviews, mostly for GameSpot these days, but occasionally for Player 2. And I have done some work with IGN in the past, done some work with Waypoint as well, and a bunch of other places. So, but yeah, mostly reviews for GameSpot these days because playing games is what I like to do. So that's what we do. We just stick to what we know in these parts.
Video games are pretty good.
like reviews and wikis are really similar in that like if the game is good, you have such a good time, and if the game is not good,
oh gosh,
Yeah.
like the one game that I've reviewed for, I haven't done too many reviews this year because I'm busy preparing for a wedding, but the one game that I have reviewed for GameSpot this year was Left Alive, and I gave it a 3 out of 10 because it's terrible.
I mean, at least that was like pretty unanimous though. Like,
yeah, that's true. It wasn't like a contentious score.
And it's always
really
good when, like, because all the time when I do a review, like, I've always got it in the back of my head that I'm wrong. Like, even though it's my opinion.
That's the worst.
That's actually
like,
yeah.
And so, like, if you hate something and other people love it, you're like, oh, man, like, I might be wrong about my opinion because that's possible.
No, it's not.
But at least when everyone is like, no, this is absolutely unplayable, you're like, oh!
Yeah, that's why I find it helpful to have to write the review before, say, an embargo, so that you can't look at other people's work or opinions and stuff like
and
that.
like you absolutely shouldn't too, because you will get swayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to end up like. Also, you don't want to end up like old mate Muse. And
Do you see he apologized again recently? Again?
he did apparently. I haven't watched the video, but apparently it came out like six months later, or however long.
And had a
he's
proper
come out
apology.
Yeah, like whatever, dude. No one cares at this point.
I mean, it's good that he's realized that he was a shit basket, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
But there's lots
like,
of other people to hire who aren't shit baskets, so, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, Patrick, you have no idea.
He should have done it months ago. But anyway, whatever. We're not here to talk about him. We're here to talk about the good stuff.
The good stuff. Let's get to the good stuff.
Hope, I know you've been playing a whole bunch of Overwatch.
So I always play a lot of Overwatch.
I kind of want to hear how Overwatch is because I haven't played it since like 2017.
I love
Overwatch. It was pretty good then. What's it like now?
I feel like it just gets better, really. Like, new heroes come out, so they add a bit of variety, and there are new maps, you know. So they just keep adding to it and rebalancing things. And I've never really felt like a change has made it worse. Like, there's a couple times when a hero comes out and maybe I don't enjoy playing that hero, but then I just don't have to play that hero. Like, that's not a big deal. So I feel like Overwatch honestly just does get better and better. The reason I've been playing, like, I tend to play like at least once a week anyway, but the reason I've been playing a bunch more is because they've had like a free account weekend. And when I first started playing, I played a lot of healers and things like that. And I've slowly kind of moved on to playing more DPS style characters, and part of that is because I have a setup that's better. Like, I have a mouse that works properly and a monitor that's not
so you
a television.
play on PC?
Yeah. No, of course I play on PC.
I mean, there are people who legit just play the console versions and enjoy those.
Look, no, and that's totally cool. I would have chosen to probably play on console if I often prefer console, like, controls, especially, because that's what I've grown up with, or what I've had. But all my friends are playing on PC, and I want to play with friends. So Overwatch has actually been the first FPS that I learned to play with keyboard and mouse.
Oh, okay.
And that's another thing. So I've slowly gotten better and better at it. So I didn't want to play like a damage dealy role because you've got to have a pretty good mechanical skill a lot of the time to sort of do that. Whereas, like,
what sort of characters would that be?
Oh, like I play a lot of Tracer now. So she's like Tracer.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's like the chick on the box.
Tracer.
Yeah. Cheers, love. The cavalry's here.
Oh no, we can't do this. We can't do this.
Group up. Yeah. That's
It's
actually
not about Tracer, actually.
That's pretty much. It's her accent's so bizarre, but and I've been playing some McCree, and they're hit scan characters. So where you sort of shoot is where you'll be, like where you click is where your bullet will be in real time, kind of thing. There's no projectile time, and there's no way I could have done that when I started. So when these free accounts came out, I was kind of like, well, everything that my Overwatch account knows about me is not necessarily correct anymore. Because it's got all this data of me playing healers and me not being good at some things and all that kind of stuff. And I've always felt like where it places me in matches and SSR and all that kind of thing maybe isn't that correct, especially given how much I've changed as a player. Right. So friends and I were really curious to know what it would be like to start from scratch with an account. But I didn't want to buy another account. Yeah. So we've been abusing this free period to sort of see it. And We are
abusing.
Yeah, well,
In-
it kind of is because I mean a lot of people are doing it, so it's
oh, so that makes it fine.
well, it kind of makes it a little bit better because if it was because it's totally smurfing, even though I'm trying to tell people that it's not really smurfing. I'm like, no, we're legitimate Smurfs, but we're fucking Smurfs. And like, so it means that there are like actual brand new people that we're getting like put up against and things like
You're
that.
just crushing them.
Sometimes, yeah. And
Are
like,
you just crushing noobs?
I think so. And the worst part is it's so much fun. I'm enjoying crushing these dudes.
No, that's
So
perfectly on brand.
Yeah.
But you can tell that a lot of other people are doing it too, because you'll come up against someone and they're just like way too good to be like a level 3 person kind of thing.
Right.
And you're like, I know who you are. Like, yeah, I'm onto you.
I see you.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, when you're on like a team with like a couple of your mates and you both like you've all played Overwatch for a couple of years now, and like you're not the best players in the world, but you at least know the fucking game. And then you're playing against these people who are like, what is the right button for jump?
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, you're
Gosh.
gonna die. Like, you're dead again.
You've definitely become a PC player.
It's been a very slippery slope, and now I'm
Seems
sliding
like
all over noobs.
I feel like a free weekend, like I understand why they do that sort of thing, because obviously they want to try and pull in new players, but like, what an intimidating time to try and jump into a game as well. Like,
Yeah, because you are
Overwatch
like,
has been out for years now, and I
And-
know that they change the meta reasonably regularly, but like, or like they, they patch it reasonably regularly.
it
right?
does
Like,
change
make
a
some
lot,
changes and-
but it's still
Yeah.
generally like things kind of stay the same. Like, maps kind of stay the same. Like, they add new ones, but the old ones, if you don't know them, you don't know how to get to health and things like that. Like, and especially because there are a lot of Smurfs. Like, there are so many. So all these poor new people are like, they're gonna have a bad time. I don't know how many new sales Overwatch is gonna get, but what it did get is my friend ended up buying us all copies of Overwatch so we could do this more often because it's so much fun.
Oh
So,
my God.
I mean, they did end up selling more Overwatch games, but maybe not to the people they intended on selling more Overwatch games to.
I don't think they care though, because like once they've got your money, they've got your money.
Yeah, but
That's
having a
it.
big player base is also important.
That's true.
I mean, I don't think they can too much, but I think they would probably prefer to have additional players rather than players doubling up. But
How's their league going? How's the
I love
Overwatch league
Overwatch League.
Yeah.
It's the only esport I've ever like. I don't mind what it got me into the idea of esports because it was a game that I played regularly. That was bright and colourful enough to sort of watch and understand what was happening. And
Sure.
before then, I'd never been able to get into esports. But Overwatch League, it's in its second year now, and it's on the second stage of this year. So there's usually like 5 stages, and it seems to be going really strong. I've got this one big complaint about it though.
Go for it.
Like, everything about it's pretty good. Like, production values are really, really good. The hosts are pretty good. Like, watching it's fun. But so it's on Twitch, and they do this thing where they show you the highest. Like, you can cheer for your teams, and you can also be like just the highest person that's cheered in bits, right? And at the end of every set of matches, they'll bring it up, and they'll be like, "Oh, who's made our bits leaderboard? Oh, you guys need to try harder to get into this bits leaderboard." So it's so it's a company, right? With a production and a television, like a show
Bits leaderboard.
that is literally begging for donations.
Mm.
And like, they don't need to. Like, they have advertisements, they have other things that should be supporting the Overwatch League. And it just feels really, really gross because you know that like a lot of people that consume esports are kids, and they're going to be like trying to cheer on their team and genuinely think that they're probably helping their team. And like,
How do you buy bits? Is that like an Amazon thing? Do you buy that
it's
through?
a Twitch thing, so I guess it's an Amazon thing.
I suppose they're all in the same.
How
thing,
different in exploitation terms is it from normal sports merch sales, do you think?
Well, you're not getting anything for your bits,
Hmm.
so
you don't
like
get a
you
physical
can
object, you don't...
no,
That's right. They call it donate. They call it.
it's a donation, but they're not a charity. So like, I've bought some merch because like, it's kind of cool to have a little bit of Overwatch merch and like wear a cool jacket that supports your team. Like, I'm okay with that stuff because
You get a thing.
you're getting a product,
Hmm.
and I don't. But this is literally them calling for people just to give them money.
And the more
And to
money you
me-
give, the more shout out you get, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Like, and you get to be on their leaderboard thing, and so they're inciting competition around giving the money. And to me, like, every time I see it, I just feel like it's really gross to me. And I don't.
It is weird that a big kind of.
Well, could you imagine a
event-
sport doing this?
Yeah, it seems kind of weird.
Like, I don't watch professional sport.
If they had,
Although it's-
if they
you
had
know
the
what?
opportunity, I bet they would.
It sounds like horse racing and horse betting.
I mean, but you don't even
That
get
sort of
anything.
thing,
Like, I
except
mean,
you don't get anything
I don't know if
out of
that's
it,
better or worse, because I mean, at least then they're not gambling. But
I guess.
yeah, it's super weird to me. You can probably gamble on Overwatch League though, because you can gamble on everything.
You can't do it legally, but yeah, there's places probably.
Like sports bet and shit like that. Like those kind of
Got
betting
that place
websites.
down in the corner.
Go to my local Overwatch League sort of bookie.
I mean, I bet TAB probably does it. I did a big article on gambling that got buried maybe last year, so.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of I know for a fact
it
that you could
Yeah.
bet on the finals because people were talking about what like odds were being given.
I mean, apart
Things
from
like
anything
that.
else, this is Australia. You could bet on a man falling off a log, you know?
Yeah.
That is true.
It's gotta happen sometimes, mate. Double or nothing.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I really enjoy watching Overwatch League. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a really good way to get into esports, especially if you've played a little bit of Overwatch, because you can instantly understand what's going on. They've done a lot of work on it to make it very clean to watch. So they've got team colors and things like that, so you can tell. So the team color will also apply to
The UI?
like the abilities and the UI. So if, for
Neat.
example, like Zarya might shoot like her ultimate out, it will be that color.
Like
so
in-game,
you know
right?
which. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So like when you're
That's
watching
awesome.
so when the players, I'm pretty sure they just see standard because otherwise there could be a benefit to different teams and colors.
Sure.
Right.
But
Also, it's all for the benefit of the broadcast.
correct. So it's all spectator view, and they've got like
Wow.
I've got the all access pass, which I think is an acceptable way for them to ask for money because it's quite reasonable, and I didn't buy it; someone bought it for me. That makes it more acceptable. But like I think it's like $30 or something. And it gives you access to all the player cameras. So if I wanted to watch a specific player rather than what they're telling me to watch, I can flip over to that and just watch that player play and things like that.
Wait, so you
And
can do your own switching, basically?
Yeah, you can. Like, it's not... You probably... Like, I don't tend to unless I'm really,
Is
really
it-
interested in seeing something.
Is it on a time delay or something? It feels like the lag that would add would be noticeable, maybe.
It doesn't... It's... I think they have just separate streams for each one.
Okay.
I think that's the way they have it.
Interesting.
I guess I don't know the back-end server technology or how that works.
Yeah,
so-
like neither do I. But so you can do that kind of stuff. You can even just watch a top-down view if you want to, and you also get like access to like exclusive player interviews, which are usually just stupid. But whatever. It's like
Player interviews.
well, like the players don't really have a lot of.
Definitely want to hear what no scope fucking Johnny has to say.
Well, like sometimes I'm
God.
genuinely interested in things, but then like the questions might be like, "What's your favorite snack?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Salty chips."
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm thinking about this, and I'm also thinking that I fucking love the Evo post-match interviews because people just pop off. It's so good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That's just rad.
So like it's a cute thing, and I think that's a fine way for asking for money because I can tell that there's more production that goes into it as well. Like I'm like for them to be able to do that, that's got to cost a lot more. So I'm kind of okay with that being like I didn't pay it, but just in theory, just pretend that I gave money to something like I have money.
yeah.
I've paid an extra fee to have more features about this content. That is fine, but like begging and then showing a leaderboard and stuff like that, it feels so fucked up.
Yeah, that is a very Twitch thing to do.
Yeah,
for,
and, like,
an esports league.
I haven't seen other esports do it yet, but I mean maybe they are. I don't watch Dota.
I've definitely seen that like donations thing around.
I've seen it on general Twitch, and I kind of get it on like on a normal streamer's Twitch. I kind of get it because it's like tipping that streamer.
I don't even get that, but that's fine.
Like,
People
I-
want to give people money for playing games. That's totally awesome.
Yeah, look, I mean, the way I see it is you're like they're providing you with entertainment, and you want to give them something back. But
sure.
this is an actual company, like a corporation. Like this money's going straight to probably Activision. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Like-
literally.
and if the Overwatch League needs these donations, which I highly doubt, to continue production, then it either needs to rethink its business model or it shouldn't exist. And like I say that as someone who loves Overwatch League.
They did just gut a whole bunch of people out of their marketing and publishing, and
A lot of that was like the
esports.
hot side of things, though.
Yeah, right. Bummer.
But yeah, look, there's a lot of really good things about Overwatch League, but that one little thing's really been grinding my gears.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Yeah.
I think that is a
legitimate concern. Yeah,
a fair gear to be ground. Patrick.
Yeah.
How is I know you've been playing a lot of Breath of the Wild recently.
Yeah. So I've been back into it, not for any particular reason other than I was just sort of like, Zelda, that'd be nice. And I just started up again. I mean, I first played it when it came out on Switch, and then I played it.
The world is kind of grim.
Yeah.
And Breath of the Wild is kind of lovely.
Breath of the
Give me
Wild is
something colourful
really
and
lovely.
beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, it's just so. I mean, I've just been soaking it in. I've been doing basically the exact same, because I to access all the DLC and stuff, you need to be fairly far along in the storyline. And when I tried to jump into it on my old save file, I was like, I don't remember how to play this anymore. So I figured the easiest way to ease myself back in was just start completely again, because what I was after was that experience of exploration and wandering the world. And
there's a real sense of wonder that came with like starting Breath of the Wild the first time, and I definitely would love to have that again, but I don't know if that's possible.
It's not 100% possible, but the thing is that place is so big that there's stuff I never found before that I'm just finding now. Like,
that's awesome.
Like, I mean, the stuff.
That game is good.
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff I heard about, like on the internet, everyone's just like, oh my god, did you see this magical whatever deer? But then, like, one time I just saw a light in the distance. I was
Holy
like,
shit.
Yeah.
Was that the white deer?
Yeah.
I just remembered
There's
that.
like the
white.
It was amazing.
There's like a white god deer that just shows up on a mountain randomly at random times, and I just happened to stumble into it this time.
And like the way it comes up is like you see a light in the distance, and I remember chasing that light and it disappeared before I got there.
Yeah.
And then like another night when I was playing, it was randomly there again. I was like, I'm gonna get it this time, and I got there. Yeah. And then I tried to ride the deer, and he bucked me off.
That's so fucking
cool. I mean, that game is just I think it's I thought this when it first came out, and just playing it again even now, especially after putting a couple of open world games in between it and now. Like, I played Odyssey, which, I mean, I've never really liked an Assassin's Creed, so I don't know why I tried to like this one, but I played Odyssey again. I was just like, this is so boring. You just go from A to B, and then even if, like, I try and play open world games, especially not using fast travel and not using that, because, like, the ideal of an open world game is that the exploration of the open world itself is fun.
Yep.
So to use, like, for instance, Spider-Man swinging is fun in that game. So most people didn't even use fast travel because swinging is so fun.
No, I didn't use it until really late in the game.
Right, but in Odyssey, I was just like, I'm not doing anything. There's no cleverness to this, right? Like, Breath of the Wild's mechanical simplicity, when you sort of step back and you're like, okay, there's not actually that much to doing what you do, because it's just like, okay, you hit X and then you glide, you climb up the thing, and then it's the stamina meter, but whatever. Yeah. But the way it all comes together, the way the landscape is positioned so that there's always something of interest on the horizon.
So there's a couple of things I want to mention really quickly, because I've read a bunch about the design of Breath of the Wild, and they've actually specifically designed it so that every time there's a mountain in your way, like, or any sort of height thing in your way, once you get to the top of it, you will see something in the distance that kind of makes you want to keep going.
Yeah.
So they designed it in planes, specifically like that. And the other thing is, people were asking why you couldn't pet the dogs.
Mm.
And they said that they didn't want to have any button that could only be used for one function.
Mm.
So, like, they didn't want to have just a thing that was only pet. Like, it had to be, like, everything is like a pickup, or everything is like a swing this.
Had to be like context sensitive.
I kind of get that, but there's lots of like activates in that game, so yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't fully agree with it, but I can understand the design.
Buy your shit, Nintendo.
the ethos behind it, like the two things you just said there, like with those two things, it's like it's really, it's so clever.
Yeah, I've actually been taken to doing some landscape painting, and I'm trying to think of like locations in Breath of the Wild just to be like, well, I'm going to do some landscape painting from here. So
nice.
The top of Hyrule, the very first part,
where
you
walk out. The Great Plateau.
That's too easy, though. That's too easy. I'm going to find some.
You should go to Eventide Island.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if that would be recognizable. It'd be fun. No, Breath of the Wild's amazing.
I tried to pick it up maybe about 6 months ago, and I was like 3 steps out the door of from starting the Ganon fight.
Yeah.
And so I thought, oh fuck it, I'll give this a crack, and just that was a stupid decision. I don't remember how to play the game at all.
Yeah.
so I'd be in the same position as you. I think if I was going to like play that again, I would absolutely have to.
Well, I think it's fun though, because now that like I went to a puzzle that I remember doing ages ago the proper way, you're like supposed to take this block of ice to the end of the shrine or whatever, and instead I was like, wait, if I just use this and then I balance it on this and then I just shoot it to the top, I just skip the whole puzzle.
I really love the way that people break that game.
Yeah.
Like it's so beautifully, like sometimes you see people break games and you're like, that's cheap. But like every time I see like a trick that someone's used in Zelda to like bypass a puzzle or do something stupid, I'm like, that's awesome. Like
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's just that game is a real.
I think this is a game that
quite a spectacular.
We'll be
thing.
literally talking about for the next 50 years.
Yeah, I think it's a masterpiece in design. Not that I'm saying anything new.
Right?
Yeah, James, you've been building factories instead. Not enjoying the Breath of the Wild, just despoiling and pillaging the landscape.
There is actually. Gosh, Satisfactory is a funny little game. It really is. So it's just come out of alpha about a month ago.
What's the previous? Are they the Factorio guys? Are they
Coffee Stain? No, they're
different.
Friends with the people who made Factorio, but they actually made.
They're just part of this like
simulator.
factory loving club.
Wait, these guys are the Goat Simulator guys?
Yeah, they made Goat Simulator.
That's crazy.
I thought for sure they were the Factorio and.
I know that was a stupid game. I did not like it one bit. I think I laughed at it for about 30 seconds and then went, cool, I don't ever need to see this again.
I've never gotten into Goat Simulator, but the things that I've seen that you can do in that game, it feels like it's every game.
It's a physics sandbox.
Yeah.
It's Gmod with a goat.
Yeah, pretty much.
Although I think my favorite thing I've been seeing floating around on Twitter is some Japanese indie game which seems to be Giraffe Simulator, except the things you can do in Giraffe Simulator are like insane. I'll link you guys to it if I can find it again.
Yes, please do.
Sounds great.
The main thing that I caught was that you use the giraffe's head as a grappling hook, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
So it kind of gets more insane from there.
Have you seen how giraffes fight in real life?
Yeah, they use their heads as whips, basically.
So it makes some sense.
Yeah. I mean, for a given value. Anyway,
sorry,
Satisfactory.
I'm dying at the image of Hope clacking her arms together as though they're like two giraffes.
Whipping giraffes.
Hey, it was accurate.
Yeah, it is actually very accurate. If you view the Discovery Channel footage, you'll see.
Satisfactory is a funky kind of take on this sort of open world exploration and like resource management.
Yeah.
So you start out, you work for some mining company, and you
this
land
is too close for home.
Yeah, I know, right? You land on, you're like shot out of this space station, and you go through like this really spectacular kind of opening sequence where your dropship descends onto this alien planet, and you come out and you disassemble your thing and you put together your first hub. And basically what the game is all about is you go running around looking for resources. The planets that you can land on, there's 3 separate worlds so far, because like I mentioned, it's in early access. It's on the Epic Games Store. If anyone wants to check it out, it's $30 US. There's like 3 planets to choose from, and they're all super beautiful. They're all really idyllic, gorgeous looking land masses that are actually like quite big to explore. They feel like they're at least a few kilometers by a few kilometers. So there's plenty of space to sort of wander around, and they're also quite vertical. So there's some places that have like big, huge like cliff overhangs where like you'll need to drive a truck down. If you want to get down to like wherever all of the resources are, you'll need to like slowly make your way down like the side of a hill or whatever. But anyway, there's these huge places to go and explore, and you can go and find a bunch of resources. And as you start gradually mining those resources, you can make components, and so you'll start out simple. You'll start out making like an automatic miner, and you'll have that feeding a conveyor belt that comes out of that, which feeds into a smelter, which then feeds into creates iron ingots. Or
you're just making this massive Rube Goldberg sort of machine, right?
You seriously end up just big. It just gets more complex and more complex and more complex, and you end up with like all of these little parts, like conveyor belts, just connecting to all of these little different constructor machines, and it's all in first person. So it's not like Factorio, which does a very similar thing to this, except it's like a 2D top-down kind of game. This is a first-person game, so you can build these factories in 3D, and the animation and a lot of the way that it's put together, a lot of the trappings of it are really excellent. Like, I'm really surprised at the level of quality of the animations in it. Things like watching each individual constructor, like watching the conveyor belt feed stuff in, and then stuff gets made and then spat out the other side, and then the level of detail in all of that stuff, like watching stuff get built. You'll see if there's this like one of the things that you need to build in it kind of early on, it's like a giant space elevator, which is huge, and it stretches up like as far as you can see into the point of the sky, literally into space. But it's like this crazy imposing building, just this massive size. And watching that get built is really amazing, because there's this great sequence of you'll see like the floor kind of put itself together, and there's these like giant clamps that come out of the ground, and then suddenly this huge thing comes out of the sky, like this big long cable comes out of the sky and like lands with pinpoint accuracy onto this building, and the clamps slowly grab it as it like pulls itself back out, and like it just sort of settles into place, and it looks amazing. It's like, oh, what the fuck is going on here?
It sounds like, sorry, Hope.
No, I was gonna say, like, sounds like there's this Satisfactory and Satisfactory.
Boo.
I was gonna say it's sort of like when you build something you finish building a wonder or something in Civilization, and it just does the speed up motion of building everything all at once, and you're just like, I've accomplished something.
That's totally
something like that.
Kind of what
except the scale is even more crazy. Like sorry.
No, I'm just curious, because I'm getting this picture in my head where you obviously have built a space elevator, but like it kind of almost sounds more like you're just like build space elevator and does it itself.
Yeah, so like basically what you're doing is you're pulling together all of the resources that you need, and then you're kind of selecting where you want something to be built, and then all of the resources just kind of fly out of your back, and everything just sort of appears.
Classic.
Almost like nanomachines putting everything together.
Classic video games.
As far I know, right? But as far as it comes to like actually building your entire factory and the way that you lay everything out. So, because eventually you'll want to start making more complex things, which means you'll need to work out how to get the iron that you've smelted all the way over one side, and how you're going to get it to your copper all the way over some other side, because they're too far apart. But you need both of those components to start building more complex things. So trying to figure that stuff out is kind of, I find like really enjoyable. And it's super chill that way as well. There's like not a whole lot of combat. There's some light combat. Just you'll find some aliens sort of running around that will attack you near.
Well, you're mining their land.
I know, right? So that's actually one really interesting aspect to this game that I hope they explore more, is the impact that you have on the environment. Because you're coming into this alien land, and all of a sudden, one of the first things that you do, one of the earliest forms of fuel that you get, is called biomass, and that's just like leaves and wood, like from trees and stuff. And you literally run around and you pull apart the environment. So like you just run around, you smash the E key, and you'll just pick up leaves, and you'll pick up, like, you'll physically remove the bushes, and once you get a chainsaw, you'll start removing trees from the land, and you'll physically see the world change, because like
you're scarring it.
Exactly. And but there's it doesn't feel like there's any kind of consequence for that so far. And I really hope that there is at some point, because
systems heavy and that sort of
it is. That's the things. Like, there are different types of fuel. So there is like biomass, which burns less efficient than something like coal.
Well,
but
what I mean
you need to get clean coal.
I guess what I mean more is is there some kind of I don't know, ecological system that is happening in the background?
That I don't know. That's what I'm not
sure
about.
So if you cut down all the trees, do new ones grow?
Not that I've seen.
Is there simulated global warming?
I don't know, but that's kind of what I want there to be, because if I
always want there to be more global warming.
If I make the choice to go to coal, suddenly there's like much thicker black smoke coming out of everything that I'm building, and
but it doesn't do anything.
It's a much easier resource to gather, because I can just mine it. It's just a mining thing, and they don't. So far, it doesn't feel like resources exhaust.
Right.
They don't. They feel infinite. I haven't had anything run out yet. They can change impurity, so sometimes you'll find like an impure one, which means you'll get less out per second or whatever. But I haven't noticed any other difference other than, like, if you get coal, then suddenly, like, your smoke is a little bit blacker, but it's much easier for you to mine it, because you can just literally mine it out of the ground.
You think if they go to the trouble of making the smoke blacker,
see what I'm saying?
Have to be like some sort of.
I think that'll be. I don't know if that's something that they're even going to explore.
Like in 50 years game time, are you going to find out that you've totally fucked this planet?
Right. Like, I think, but that could be super interesting. Yeah. Like, that could be, however they go to handle something like that could be really interesting.
It's making me think a bit of the new Civ expansion, actually, which is mostly to do with global warming and stuff like that.
That's right, it is too.
And then, you need all these resources during the early stage of civilization, but once you reach the 1900s or so, suddenly this whole new gameplay mechanic jumps in and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that took them like 3 iterations to get there and all this other stuff, so who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I don't even know if Satisfactory is going to go down this road. Maybe it won't. Maybe it's just all about the satisfaction of, like, slowly building more things,
putting complicated things together,
and exactly, which in itself is also really fun and really great. But it does feel like there's a really unique opportunity to also look at that sort of environmental impact sort of side of things, because it seems like it's there. It seems like it's there already in the choices that I'm making, or it seemed like a natural part of my decision-making process when going from, well, I could keep collecting biomass, but it's a real pain in the ass to have to run out every now and again and go and clear out some more forest and find more trees and stuff. When I could just, build a kilometer-long conveyor belt or automate a tractor to go and pick stuff up and then bring it back, which is a thing that you can do in that game, and that is also rad. But yeah, so I don't know. I haven't played it for. It's probably been about a week since I've last played it, but I do want to get back into it again. But I kind of want to, because it is still in early access. I don't want to exhaust my time on it already.
Yeah.
You can kind of do that with early access.
I really don't partake in early access very often because of that reason.
Good.
Neither, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this definitely caught my interest. I'm generally kind of the same, but actually both of my games are early access games. I just realized.
You're so ahead of the curve.
Play early access games, but they both are.
What's your other game, James?
I may as well talk about it. I've been playing Dreams.
I am so excited about this game, so I want to hear everything you have to say.
So Dreams is the new thing from Media Molecule, who made all the Little Big Planet games. And it's the thing that they've been showing off for the past, 6 years, I think.
Yeah.
It was first revealed maybe at E3 2013.
It's been a lot of scuttlebutt about this forever.
Yeah, really, really long time. And basically this is their kind of game-making tool, I suppose, which is a real reductive way of putting it. But
it also feels like the most accurate way of doing.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what it is. It's really just a set of creative tools to help you create different game experiences. Be it like, it could just be, maybe you just want to make music, or maybe you just want to make sound effects, or maybe you just want to create art for people's games, or sculpt things, or whatever. These are all aspects that you can do, that you can just partake in Dreams, and then add your stuff to what they call the Dreamverse, which is like their online kind of I don't want to call it a marketplace because you don't buy things, but it's just where
the
it's like
sharing community portal, whatever the hell.
Yeah. Where you upload your stuff, and people can go, if you make it public, people can go and add that stuff to their games, and you will be credited appropriately.
That's
which is wild. Seeing that stuff is wild. Like going and jumping into, I had a great time going in and checking like the version control of different people's games, and like seeing how they iterated, just in like the 3 or 4 weeks that this thing had been available to them at the time. And some people are making some wild stuff already. Like there's already a really crazily accurate remake of PT in there.
Oh, I think I heard about that one.
Yeah, there's some really amazing art in there, some really incredible like sculpts, and you can actually get sculpt with the Move controllers, which is the thing that I tried to do this morning.
Yeah.
So it is cool, except it's also exceedingly difficult.
That's less cool
to do. Maybe the sculpting side of it is kind of probably a bit better, but like trying to just move around that game with just the Move controllers is like fucking nigh on impossible.
no bueno.
No good. I mean, it is still in early access, and maybe that's like, I don't think that's not how people are gonna interact with this. They might do for sculpting and things like that. I could see that having, but it's not like Tilt Brush or any of those sort of really cool VR paint applications. It's kind of rudimentary shapes, 3D shapes that you
like put together
essentially.
Plug and play.
Kind of, yeah. It's like if you have, I don't know, you take like a square and you just like hold down your button and it will paste like hundreds of them as you drag it around the screen. It kind of creates like this layered effect.
Okay, so they're like a brush.
It sounds like a brush.
Yeah, a bit like a brush. So I don't know, that aspect of it is interesting. Me being sort of musical and more sort of audio oriented, I sort of gravitated more towards the audio design side of it. And some of the tools they've got in there are just intense. Like they've got some really complex, advanced audio tools in there that are I'm kind of really looking forward to digging into. I haven't had much of a chance to dive all the way into it yet because it is it is exceedingly deep, and the audio tutorials actually only cover some of the real basics. They don't even go into creating your own sound effects and stuff. They just more go into like, here's some music loops, here's how you put them together.
I guess they're kind of relying on people having some knowledge already for a lot of it.
Well, it's, I mean, like a lot of these games, they rely on your own curiosity. And your own sort of desire to want to make something and to want to build things. And, you know, I definitely want to play around in Dreams more because, like, whilst it's still in the early days, the tool set is wild. There is a lot that you can do. You can get in, like, heavy into sort of get things like gameplay logic, and, like, you can craft big 3D worlds if you want to, and you know, there's all sorts of wild things that you can do. It really is only like I feel like I'm doing a bad job of selling it because you really only limited. Sorry, there's a plane flying over my head.
Okay.
You're really only limited by your own imagination.
I remember when we were like seeing the demo at PAX, and it really felt like we were like, can you do this? And the guy was like, yes, let me show you how. But can you do this? He was like, yes, let me show you how. Like to everything. There was no question that we could ask or that I could think of that he could say no to.
It's really quite incredible, and it's one of those things that is. I think it's going to be a lot more successful than what Little Big Planet ever was, because they had like a whole bunch of creativity tools in that too.
My main concern with Dreams is I don't really know how they're going to be able to market it very well.
Yeah.
Like, I think it'll be really big on Twitch, which might help them, because, you know, that's the only way I can really see it marketing this kind of thing, because it's so much unique content and, like, kind of like Minecraft, you know what I mean? But, like, actually marketing a game that can potentially be everything is really difficult.
And there's also the it's the question of a lot of these user-generated content games are sort of just like, oh, it's, you know, you jump in there, you see what's really cool on YouTube and then or Twitch or whatever, and then you don't really stick with it. Like, the creators will stick with it, but the audience might flow in and out. And then, like, once you've made something, like, can you export it out to Unity or something like that? If you make a good game prototype in here, like, what's the ownership look like? Who does that flow to? Is that easily transferable into other assets that can be turned into? I don't know.
I don't think they had any transferability when we were looking.
No, I don't think that's going to be a part of it either, and I think that sort of comes down to the distinction between it being a game engine and
a tool set.
Yeah, like a tool set to be used within this framework or within the framework of the community that they've built, which I suppose makes sense when you consider like just kind of what that software is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they want to build their own community and keep that within their own, you know, walled garden or whatever. It's just like, do they have enough capital to make that self-sustainable and for like more than a year, more than a couple of years? I don't know.
I mean, like, Little Big Planet was kind of interesting like this. Like, it had its own... Like, I'd imagine Dreams will come with its own sort of pre-made levels and things, so you can play through things to get an idea of things that you might want to try to make.
I feel like it's usually, ancillary to a product, though. The sort of user-generated content stuff is usually, oh, this is a really cool wrestler and create a wrestler or something, or this is a really cool level in a level creator, but the whole thing is just the user-generated content, and I don't know how that's going to roll.
I feel like maybe that's a reason why it might actually work, because having seen some of just a small handful of what people have made already, there's a lot of different stuff that you could do in this. Like, it's not just a simple platformer that you can make. You know,
I think that's why it'll be really successful on Twitch, to be honest.
As long as the actual creation of it, and then also the feedback loop of other people viewing and rating and stuff, if that is satisfying, then I can see it being fairly successful.
So that might be the only thing, is it's a little clunky. It's a little finicky, and that is only because you're limited to what you can do with the DualShock.
Yeah.
Which, when it comes to like accurately placing things on, in a 3D space, or especially if you want to like try and map things to some kind of a grid, it's not going to happen. It's going to be hard, and you're going to need to like be comfortable with that.
You'll find that the really, really heavy users will look into things like, I don't know what they call them nowadays, but like split fish. So like the keyboard mouse design things that are for.
Oh right, yep.
Like I think that you'll get some people that will get really, really into it, like you do with any of these kind of platforms, and they'll go out and buy peripherals that will help them. That may not be the everyman, though, of course.
I think like keyboard and mouse support for something like this would be rad, but then again, I don't know. Does that defeat the purpose?
I don't think so. No, I think with a thing like this, it is a shame that it's a PlayStation exclusive, but that's how they got the funding and the support to make it. And sometimes that's a sacrifice you have to. As well. That's sometimes what you got to do if you want to get your game out.
Also, another interesting thing is aren't they coming to like the end of the PlayStation 4's life cycle?
Yeah, so that's weird.
What happens when? Is this going?
It'll be cross-platform.
I mean, they have said that the new console coming out is backwards compatible with all PlayStation 4 games.
That's right. Yes, that was a part of that Wired piece, which I think we're going to talk about later on. But I do hope, even though they are releasing it kind of late into the cycle, I do hope that this is around for quite some time, because the longer it's around, the more potential there is to see really amazing things getting made in it. And it does seem like one of those things that has the potential to have some really cool shit made by some cool people who know what they're doing. I've dabbled around in it a little bit. I think I definitely want to play with the audio stuff a bit more, just because that's the stuff that I kind of can roll with. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe I'll report back on that at some point in the future. Hey, Patrick.
Yes?
Tell me about Devil May Cry 5.
All right.
Because I can talk a little bit about this as well.
Okay. Well, I can talk a lot about this, but I won't, because it's been like...
talk a lot about
it's been like...
Go for it.
Oh my god. It's I actually haven't been playing that recently, because Breath of the Wild has been taking all my time. But they released the Bloody Palace update at the beginning of the month, which is, if you don't know what Bloody Palace is, it's basically just a challenge dungeon where you start from floor 1, there's like 100 levels or more or whatever, and then it just gets harder and harder and harder as you go up. And it's basically just the pure combat. None of the cutscenes, none of the other stuff. It's just you and a bunch of monsters, and you just beating the shit out of them, and it getting harder as it goes. And it is so much fun. Like, holy shit.
Phrasing.
Like, I have... you can't, they added some suspend features, so you can, like, stop your progress and then come back to it, but you can't, like, save and then come back to that save. You have to start from 0 every single time.
It's like the Breath of the Wild Master Trial.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, the Master Trial is kind of a bloody palace, as it were.
Yeah.
So what you end up doing is you end up intimately learning a character's movesets and an enemy character's movesets as well, because you're facing them over and over again, you're using the same characters, and you're experimenting with things, and you find out, like, the little tiny things or you get to play with weapons that you wouldn't normally in the campaign. Like, there's one of Nero's devil arms is called Tomboy, and I never ever used it in the campaign because it's got a really shitty gun, basically. It, like, changes it into a third-person shooter for a hot second, and that's not what you want in the middle of an action game.
I did not realize that his devil arms had names, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, they all have, like, it's a devil breaker, whatever. His mechanical arm.
Devil breaker in this one.
Yeah. So anyway, he's got that, and then I never used it, but in this one, I'm just like, actually, this tears like a hot knife through butter through everything. It just deals so much damage on the sword attacks. And then eventually it's like, okay, learning to internalize that, learning to just instantly respond, figuring out that, if you do this, you can buffer this with that, and then jump cancel out of that. And then it's just sort of like getting all of these mechanics and distilling them down into the point where you're just like a weird twitchy impulse machine. And, like, my hands were actually getting physical damage, which was the main reason I stopped, because I was, like, clutching the controller so much.
Yeah.
You're playing these games, you're playing, but the level 96 run that I did was almost 2 hours. So at that point, I'm just like, okay, I've been playing... I mean, I didn't do it all at once. At that point, I started splitting it up and, like, suspend at, like, floor 50 or whatever. Like, I'll come back to this later, but... Oh, my God. Yeah.
Damn.
That sounds intense.
It's really fun, and it's, like... I'm huge into character action games. Devil May Cry 5 is really fucking good. It's probably not better than Bayonetta in my like own estimation, but it's like really fucking good.
I fucking need to play Bayonetta. I've never played
Bayo is one of those games that I think is good because I'm like a fanatic about these games.
Yeah, right.
Like, it's got some issues, and it's also
well,
like
you're not the only person I've heard talk highly about.
Yeah, it's one of those games that like people who like it love it.
I think I have over 300 or 400 hours in Bayonetta, I think.
Sweet Jesus.
Across like three or four platforms.
Nice.
I've bought it so many times.
That's dedication.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I wish I could get into these games like that. I can enjoy them for a little bit, but I tend to find that to me they feel very repetitive, even though you are supposed to be learning new things and skills, but I'll just cheese it as much as I can because I'm a pleb.
Because they can be like done that way at the lower difficulty levels, but when you kick it up to the higher stuff, it starts demanding more and more and more of you, and that's where like the real, like, I think I've talked about this maybe in my DMC5 review or something, but like these are games that sort of they look at you, you look at them, and they're like, "You ready?"
Are you sure?
Yeah, basically.
Are you sure?
I mean, people have definitely, people, I think, find that a lot in Dark Souls, actually. Like, obviously, it's a fucking cliche to be like, this is the Dark Souls of X. But I think what Dark Souls does really well is it takes a challenge and it makes that challenge seem approachable. Like,
yep.
Like, it's all baby steps up the way there, and then suddenly you look and you realize you're at the top of the mountain and you're just about to, like, drop kick a dragon in the face or some shit. I don't know.
And, like, a lot of Dark Souls or those kind of games as well is it's, like, a skill check thing.
Yeah.
So, like, the next boss, it'll be, like, to defeat this boss, you need to be at least this skilled.
Yeah.
And then you'll have a bit of an easier time for a bit because we've established that you're at that point.
And Dark Souls modifies it because you have, the stat gain and you can spend souls on stuff and all this other stuff. And so you can, brute force your way through it eventually, but it's a lot easier if you're skilled, basically.
Mm. Yep, that makes sense.
Basically, it's easier if you're good at it.
Well,
games, easier when you're good. You heard it here first, folks.
Incredible.
Well, some stuff you want to get good at, and some stuff like Tetris 99 is something I looked at for a little bit, and I was like, I'm really not good enough at this. I was like, I can't be bothered getting better.
I came first once, and I haven't played it since.
Yeah.
I was like, I have achieved.
That's how you play Tetris 99.
Pretty much.
I will never play Tetris 99 again. I never won, but I never will win. If I was ever going to win, it was going to happen in that first day.
So Tetris 99 is really funny to me because I hadn't actually ever played Tetris until about 2 years ago.
Yep.
And it was Puyo Puyo Tetris demo on the Switch.
I love Puyo Puyo Tetris.
That game is awesome.
And I got so addicted to it, like fully Tetris addicted. And I would sit there and just play it for hours and like in versus mode against my partner. We'd sit on the couch until like, accidentally start playing at like 11 p.m. and then be there like, oh, it's morning. Oh, shit.
That's worrisome.
And yeah, so like until then, never played Tetris. Then suddenly very intense Tetris boot camp. And then Tetris 99 came out. I'm like, I am ready for this. Like,
yeah.
That's a good time.
That game is dope.
Oh, man. Yeah. Tetris is...
But Puyo sucks. Fuck Puyo.
I think there's something to Puyo, but I don't know how to get there.
Yeah, there's something to Puyo, but you know what? That's something and I have nothing in common.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched any of the online... Because you can spectate matches in Puyo Puyo Tetris, and I've watched some of the online games. And watching a really talented Puyo Puyo player go up against a really talented Tetris player is fucking off-chain.
That sounds crazy.
It's crazy. That shit was really wild. I don't know how they do that stuff that fast.
To me, Puyo, like, I think it requires a lot of thinking ahead that I'm just not equipped for, maybe.
Yeah. Especially not at speed.
Well, I've got a friend who we made, like, when this is such an off-topic thing, but, shut up, I'm talking about it. When the Switch had that the account thing and you could get the older games on there suddenly. I can't remember, like, they're virtual console, I guess.
Yeah.
Mario Paint, no, Dr. Mario? Dr. Mario is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like Puyo, I think. A little bit.
I think.
And I didn't like it very much. And my friend was like, oh, I used to play this a lot. And so we made her play it. And then she's so extremely good at it that we were all like, no, you're actually too good at this. And we timed her on a thing and we like compared it to like the speed running results. And like if she actually officially does it, she's about 7th in the world.
That's pretty good.
If she ever sits down and does it properly. And we're like, holy fuck. Like, yeah.
Wow. High level.
Yeah. I'm like,
High
she's like,
level
yeah, no, I used to play this a lot as a kid. And I'm like, what?
It's the secret Dr. Mario and Tetris masters out there.
Are you the chosen one?
Yeah. It was like watching, like, because she hadn't played it in a long time and she just picked it up and it was like, it was a wizardry to me. It was, you know how there's that thing where like any technology significantly advanced enough is, magic?
Yeah,
that's what was happening. Yeah. Like I was the like caveman with a club watching this like sorceress just, yeah.
A black obelisk just rising.
Yeah, and I'm like, dong, 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 dong.
Fair enough.
That was a tangent.
Yeah,
Sorry.
That's all right. We got there.
Tangents are great.
Step by step.
We got one more thing to talk about up here. Smash Brothers.
So the
Joker.
So the DLC Pack 1 released. Nintendo just shadow dropped a direct. Basically, they were just like, "Hey, everyone, check it out! 15 minutes, and then the game releases tomorrow, or the update releases tomorrow, or whatever."
I mean, they've been teasing the release for a while.
Yeah, they said it would come out in April, so they just randomly dropped it in the middle of it. Normally they give a day's heads up for like, oh, we're going to release a video tomorrow, everyone get hyped. But anyway, the point is, the Joker came out. He's a pretty fun character to play. He's kind of a stand user, basically, or a persona user, because he has to. He's got a normal moveset. He builds meter with his down B, which like absorbs attack damage, basically, and then converts it into meter, which he can convert into the persona, which will power up his attacks and do all this other shit. But the main thing is actually, like, the stage is really cool, and the music remixes are just amazing. Like, holy shit.
See, I really, like, I don't care about Smash at all. Smash can go die in a fire, but I love Persona 5.
Yeah.
And so, like, I almost want to get Smash so that I can have these... Because you know how you can listen to the songs?
I mean, you can, but I don't know. Someone will rip them and put them on the internet. I know, but
that's not legitimate.
I don't know that they release like the full albums or anything. So it's like, what you gonna do?
Yeah, it's like
I want to listen to all that Castlevania music.
And the like I've heard about like when you win it, if you win on like it goes straight to his like KO screens.
He's got a custom victory animation screen that also changes if you switch the music around to the Persona 3 and Persona 4 versions. So the other day,
shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the other day I was just sitting on my couch playing like, Smash Brothers on my Switch, and then just listening to Persona 4 music from like 2009, 2008, I can't remember. But I'm just like, what the hell? This is so weird. Like 2019, I'm listening to bloody like I'll face myself all over again, just getting nostalgic about a game on a completely different system. Oh my god!
It really seems like they've put a lot of care into this.
Sakurai loves games that get like, as long as the company will let him do it. Like Final Fantasy has like 2 songs or something, but every other thing.
Way to archive everything. Like,
yeah,
Sakurai's just like. I will be it. I will take care of.
Sakurai needs to sleep. Like that poor man. Please.
I mean, it's possible that he's delegated this to his underlings or whatever because he hasn't shown up on a thing since release. But I doubt it. He's a very hands-on kind of guy, from what I know. So,
just every time I think of Sakurai and he adds something new to the game, I just see that like meme picture of him, just like, don't ask me for anything else ever again.
Yeah, but he's also aging in reverse, so who knows?
That's so true.
It's like him and who else is there? I can't remember. There's a couple of other Japanese developers who you just look at them and you're like, well, do you age?
Miyamoto doesn't look any different.
Do you just transfer? Do you have
Kojima?
Yeah, do you Dorian Gray this shit? Like, what are you putting it into?
Yeah, it's all in their video games, and their video games get.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true though, because like.
Yeah, they're all beautiful. They just keep getting better and better looking. Just like, god damn it.
Too much power for like one man. Or like 4 Asian men. God damn it, guys. Yeah.
Any more video games?
I think that's about.
Did you have any more games?
Oh, look, I've been playing a couple of games about growing weed, but like.
Have you been playing Weedcraft?
Yeah, so I reviewed it for Power Up. I talked about it on the Pixelcast, which is why I wasn't really sure if I wanted to talk about it here because it's just like the same stuff. But Weedcraft Inc. is like a business tycoon style game. Where you grow and sell weed. The thing that I was really interested in it for is you go into the legislation side of things eventually. So like you can try to change the laws to make it legal or illegal if you want to.
So you become a lobby group?
Kind of. And where it gets quite interesting is like, so when I got to the point where I could change laws, I could also do things like launch media campaigns to try to target constituents of the voters that I was trying to get to change the laws.
Whoa.
So like I could make a campaign that was like, oh, say I know this. It's all like really, it's both incredibly interesting and complex and crazily watered down all at once. So like every person
kind of give you this impression of false depth.
A little bit. Like, it's not as deep as I wanted it to be, but also I don't think it would be consumable for most people if it was any more deep. You know what I mean?
Well, it'd have to be its own.
Into these sorts of sim sort of management style games?
Sorry?
Are you into these sorts of like sim?
I tend to enjoy.
Style games?
It depends. It really does depend for me. I'm generally the kind of person who will get incredibly into something for a short period of time.
Right.
So like I burn out really quick, but I also go really hard on them. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a candle that burns twice as bright.
Games will do that.
But so, like, every person in this is like a stereotype. So it'll be like, I'm going to appeal to like trade people. So what do I need to do to launch their campaign? I'll be like, okay, it's like on the radio, and it talks about family and work or something. Like, you just tick these boxes and launch it and hope it does well, kind of thing.
You sound like the Center for Independent Studies or some shit.
Yeah, and I saw a couple of other. So since I put my review, I reviewed it quite favorably. I gave it a 7.8 because I had a lot of fun with different aspects of it. I really enjoyed. It's really dumb, but the plants that you grow are so pretty.
Yeah.
Like, they're really bright and colorful, and like when you collect the things, and then they make pops and like all these great noises. Like, it's really the actual harvesting of the plants and stuff is like a really cool. Like, I hate to say the word visceral, but like it's an experience in like just.
Has it got a lot of is it kind of like a lot of those, because that to me sounds like almost like free to play mechanics.
Yeah, it sounds like gambling. That's what it sounds like.
It kind of had like, in the beginning it does that a little bit because it gets you to micromanage it first, and then as you get bigger you hire people to do that stuff for you. So when you first start it's quite intense and you're clicking on everything, like harvesting the resources, and then after a little bit you'll be like, no, you go do that now.
Yeah.
And you might pop in to do it again, like if you need something to work a bit faster. Or if you want it to be high quality because you're better at it than this jerk, like, but there's an aspect to it that is just like, there's that satisfaction from that. And there's also, the other thing I really liked about it is when you're selling the weed, you'll have,
Sorry, that just set me off.
Yeah.
When you're actually doing the deal.
I chose to go legitimate for a lot of my stuff because I wanted to go into the influencing of laws, but you can choose to go.
I had no idea, because I knew you could go down the legislative path, but I had no idea that you could go down, like, you could choose to just actually, let's just do this under the table.
So you can choose to be totally illegal.
And I found
that's wild.
That's really,
and you make more money doing it that way.
And that's really interesting because, sorry, you go ahead.
No, sorry, Patrick.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, most of these management games are always on the up and up.
Yeah, so this one, what it does is I think it makes it harder in some ways to go illegal, but you make more money. So it's a risk reward because your clientele is a lot bigger, because there will usually only be depending on which state that you're operating in, because you do move from city to city, you may only have a medical license in one state. So that means that you can only sell to the two groups of medical patients.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were choosing to go illegal, you could potentially sell to the medical patients as well as all the people buying weed for fun.
Right.
So that gives you a much bigger clientele. But what I really enjoyed about this like aspect of selling to people is you'll find out what they want out of their weed. So like say if you're selling to medical patients, they will want it to ease their stomach or help with pain, or like they prefer a certain flavor and all that kind of stuff.
And these are characteristics that you can imbue on your product, basically? So
yeah, at first you'll have regular strains of weed, which, like, me as the noob I am, didn't actually realize they were named after, like, actual real strains of weed. So, like, at the time, like, these names are so funky. But then later on, I'm like, oh, this turns out this is just what people call the marijuanas.
Did you just start Googling it and then, like, the AFP showed up or some shit?
I did. So I started Googling, like, how to grow weed and things like that.
I swear to God, I was just looking up the song.
Because
Purple Haze is a song, damn it.
Well, I didn't know that was a strain of weed until this game. But I started Googling how to grow weed and everything like that, because you do micromanage that as well. So you can choose how much, like, nitrogen and phosphorus and how much humidity, and different plants.
Wait, did you just say you were Googling how to grow weed?
Yeah. I wanted to see how accurate. I wanted to see how accurate it was, like, and it in some ways it is, and in some ways it really isn't. But you expect that from a game. But like things like managing your nutrients of your weed, different plants like different levels of humidity and different heat. So it's got like a lot of weird depth, which I enjoyed. But anyway, the thing I really liked about so you can buy regular weed strains, and then what you can do is you can crossbreed them. And this part is like gambling, and I'm not a gambler, but I enjoyed it because you'll have to have like a research center open that gives you research that you collect, and you'll need to spend that in doing this. And it'll give you like a slot machine style thing where you'll have all the so like your one weed might have like these 4 different aspects, and they'll all only fit into that single slot.
Yeah.
And then your next weed might have like 3 or it might have 5 or whatever, and then you put as many as you can in, and then you pull the slot machine and it'll randomize those stats for you. And if you're trying for specific ones, say if I want to breed one specifically for cancer patients who have these preferences, I can lock them in using research as well and spin again.
Right.
So you end up creating these strains.
Does it try and microtransact you at any point
Well,
during
no,
this
it doesn't
process?
cost any money. It just costs you research. So it's just... And, like, I always had plenty of it because I just left one going the whole time and paid some dude to
Right.
pick it up. But it was fun in the sense that once I had it optimized, then it would, like, it would give it, like, a random look, and it would also give it a name. And often the name would be a little bit relevant to what the weed ended up being like. So one of my favorite, like, ones that made me laugh a lot is they wanted a cheesy flavored weed that woke you up. And that weed, they named it Cheese-a-Lot Rocket.
Yes.
And I was like,
Oh my god.
And then someone else wanted like a stanky one that like also woke you up, and that one was called Rancid Engine.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Just these randomly generated names, and they looked so pretty. And then it was like this weed that I'd specifically created as well. Like, and I could have given it my own name if I wanted to, but the names are so great. I was like, yeah.
That's pretty good.
But like, and then once I'd optimized that weed, that meant that for those clients would pretty much, like, my weed was the best that they could get, so I could sell it at a higher price if I wanted to, and I could also, like, they wouldn't buy from the competition unless I didn't have any, or unless I'd made it too expensive, because it was literally optimized for them.
Yeah.
So those aspects of it I really enjoyed. And, like, in reading other people's reviews since, some people gave it close to me, but most people gave it lower, and it almost feels like they didn't really engage with some of these systems.
Really?
Yeah, like, I read... Or they had a really different time. So I never had... It makes you progress by, like, earning more money, and sometimes you'll have to do a thing where you earn, like, X amount of money in X amount of time and, like, maintain that profit margin. And that was always the hardest thing. And one time I found that optimizing my, like, breeding proper strains was the way to do that. But once I'd done that and it wanted me to make more money, I was like, what can I do next? And one of the ways which it ended up working for me is I paid my employees more, and then they worked harder. And I was like, this game has many agendas, and I am for all of them. But, like, so, like, I only ever... That was the only challenge that I ever really encountered, was trying to progress. I never felt like I was running out of money or going into the black. That pretty much never happened to me. And I've read other people's reviews saying that they had a lot of trouble, like, they kept running out of money and going into bankruptcy and all that kind of stuff. And I never had any issues. So it's one of those times where it kind of feels like either I got it faster or I just chose different options and they happened to work better. Like,
it's hard to tell with those types of games.
The other complaint that I heard a lot of people talk, well, a couple of people mentioned, I think the GameSpot mentioned it, was the caricatures for, like, the cancer patients and stuff are really bad. Like, they present this really gaunt looking sick person, and that's every cancer patient because that's the way they do it. Like, it's...
Oh wow, they really, like, kind of dramatize it.
Yeah.
Like this is...
It's a stereotype.
This person clearly has 2 weeks left to live.
Well, and they don't look... They look pretty...
Or they're like...
They look pretty messed up.
within the depths of their chemotherapy.
But, yeah, exactly. But every single character in this game is a stereotype. And part of that, I think, is done because it is a management sim and you want to be able to have that instant visual recognition of what something is. So I never really thought of these people as people to me. They were numbers that were going to give me money. So I think that's part of why I never picked up on it as being kind of gross. But the other thing is I've had a fair amount of experience with cancer in my family, and it has always been terrible, and they have always died from it, and they have always looked exactly like those portraits.
Yeah, right.
And I think I was just like, yep, that's cancer people. And which isn't great.
Cancer is rough.
Yeah. But a lot of people pick that up as being pretty gross, and maybe they're right in hindsight, but it didn't trigger like that for me. To me, they were kind of more of just an easy to read picture.
Yeah. That's fair enough. I think that flies.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually really liked it, and it made me try. There's a mobile game called Hempire, which is...
That's a fan-fucking-tastic name, Hempire.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Because I was curious to know, like, so what's the difference between a $30 paid-for PC weed tycoon versus a free-to-play mobile one?
Is Weedcraft only on PC?
So far. that I know of.
Okay.
It would probably work okay on mobile, but it does get into some nitty finicky stuff, so I don't know.
Would it work on like iPad, do you think?
Yeah, I think it would work on a big screen.
Right.
But what I was gonna say is like I've been playing Hempire for the past couple days purely because of that curiosity to see like kind of what the difference would be, and the difference is a lot. Like Weedcraft is absolutely a lot. Like Weedcraft is not, after playing this one, because at first I thought maybe Weedcraft feels like a free-to-play mobile like sim game, and after playing this one, no, it doesn't. Weedcraft feels more like Game Dev Tycoon, if you've ever played that. Like it's definitely got that curated, you've paid for this experience, you're not going to have to pay for anything else. Like you'll have to wait for timers and countdowns, but that's about you losing money in the meantime. That's where the challenge is. It's not like trying to make it take longer and shit like that. So, I mean, Hempire is fine for like a little waste your time mobile game. I'm probably going to delete it tomorrow because I'm bored, but that's how I roll. But yeah, if you looked at it and thought, oh, it's just like the mobile game sort of version, it's not. It's actually a lot.
Interesting.
That's why I didn't want to talk about this, because I feel like I'm just going to word vomit about weed for like an hour, and then everyone's going to be like, that girl smokes a lot of pot.
No.
That's all right. I did have one last game to talk about, actually, which I forgot to mention. What's it bloody called? Bang Dori is the Japanese name. I think it's called Bang Dream Girls Party or whatever.
I thought you were just going to say Bang Dory again.
It is Bang Dori.
No, but I thought you... Yeah, for the English name. I thought you were going to be like, I think Bang Dory is the English.
I mean, it could be. I think it's called Bang Dream Girls Party or some combination of those worlds. Anyway,
yes,
it's a gacha game. It's a sort of like
sounds hot as fuck.
Yeah, it's a okay. So this is from Bushiroad, I think, who I was previously playing the Love Live mobile game for a couple of years actually, which is the idol game.
Who's your best girl?
God, it was probably Maki or Nico. I forget. I collected them generally, but
you collected.
Yeah, so that's the thing about these games, right? My friend, I think the best description I ever heard was this is a game where you feed girls to other girls to get more power to dance better.
Holy shit.
So this is a game.
You sold me.
What
is
fuck?
Okay, so Banjo is not quite the same as that, but basically it's like a rhythm game, right? Where you have the basic sort of, I forget what it's called, the note highway or whatever.
Like Hatsune Miku kind of thing.
Yeah, you've got the note highway coming down, you want to hit the buttons in rhythm and that sort of stuff. But the main draw of it is that all the girls or the dancers or characters or whatever are represented by cards, basically. And then you get these cards and you can power up, you level up the cards the more you use them, and you assign them like a slot in your party, and the party slot determines how much like point value you get out of notes and that sort of stuff. Like as it comes down the thing, so like
so there's like a real heavy kind of strategy element.
Right, there's a lot. Well, there's the thing though, because you don't get these cards by like earning them necessarily. What you do is you earn points, which you feed into a gacha machine, and then the gacha machine will give you a random roll of whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a fairly well-tuned gacha machine for most of these games, because they're fairly like, okay, you just play the game and you keep playing the game, and then you'll eventually get enough points to do like a 10 draw every month or so, or something like that. But if you want to speed it up, we could use a little something. We could, you could give us a little bit of, say, about $140, and you get maybe like 2,000 points of these, and you can do like 20 draws all at once and just blow your dopamine load right through your brain. Or whatever.
Is that what you did? You blow?
No, I've never spent any money. I've never spent any money on these games, but I've been sorely tempted to sometimes, just because I've played this for so long, and the rhythm.
I want to feel it.
Well, the rhythm
make me feel something.
When you actually do the 10 draw or whatever, and they're like, they have all sorts of like, okay, this week we're doing this, and you get a guaranteed 3-star or above or whatever, and like all sorts. It's like been really interesting. Playing it, being invested enough to care about the value of these, they're just JPEGs at the end of the day, right? JPEGs with some stats attached or whatever. But playing it enough to care about it. So are my Neopets,
but I fed those little bitches.
Yeah, they could be anything. They could be like sentient bears. They could be like consoles, whatever. They just happen to be cute girls because fucking hell, it's video games. But
it's anime.
Yeah, it's anime and it's video games. And it's like an exploitative gacha marketing thing. So whatever. But yeah, it's just Bandori is probably the best of them, because it doesn't have like an energy tank thing where you can only play X amount before you run out of stuff. So if you want, you can just play the rhythm game all you want, and those songs are great. There's like a ton of original recordings that they do. They do a lot of anime OPs and ED covers and stuff. So
that's cool.
They got stuff from really popular stuff, and like currently airing stuff also, which is really good. And they just shower you with like login gifts because they're one of the like scrappier competitors. So they need to like build markets. So they're just like, oh, you logged in? Here's like 20 things. And you're like, yes. So yeah,
that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot of mobile gaming, but I'm looking at the Razer phone 2 and the controller at the moment. Like I'm using them. I'm going to write about them for Player 2. So that's another reason I downloaded Empire is because I'm just trying to play more mobile games so I can actually see how they go.
Yeah.
And like a rhythm game with music would be great for this because it's got like the front facing speakers and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna download that afterwards. But
the only kind of issue with rhythm games is that there's not that much opportunity to play them on mobile because you need to be at the rhythm game for like 2 minutes or something like that, right? So on a train, unless like if you've got a train for like 5 minutes, it's like a bit of a risk. I usually train for about an hour if I'm going somewhere because
I'm the same. I'm like an hour and a half.
Yeah, so that's not actually that bad, and the problem becomes more like, is your connection good the entire time?
Yeah.
But I've actually been using the phone mostly for rhythm game stuff, just because like that's where all of them moved because it's got it's got a touch thing built into it, and they can gacha the shit out of it, and it's way more profitable than anything except anything that doesn't have the Persona license attached to it. So also there's Persona songs. There was Persona songs in Bang Dream, which is why I got back into it after a while.
Nice.
They did a crossover.
That's cool. I feel like it'd be much better playing a rhythm game on a phone than it would be on a keyboard or something like that. Like I feel like the input would just feel a bit more natural.
Yeah, for sure. I find that I have a bit of a rule. Like I said, I don't play many mobile games, but I kind of mentally say to myself, like, we're not spending on this. And then, like Pokemon Go, for instance, I've played for like since beta, so I've been on that game for several years. And every now and again, I'll think about spending some money, and I'm like, you know what? Like $5 for a game that I've been playing for like this many years, that's fucking fine. Like,
yeah.
You know,
if it's a game, like a lot of people, I don't know why people shit on giving developers, particularly mobile developers,
like I
money.
feel like I want to give them something.
I mean, if it's a game that you've played a lot and that you are getting something out of,
and it has to not feel exploitative to me as well. Like if I see a mechanic in a game and it's like, you could pay money to have another shot at this spin, I'm like, no.
I think the reason I don't like it as much in some games, especially like this one, I'm like a bit iffy because that value proposition. Like I've played this game for probably about 30 or 40 hours at this point. I'm pretty like solid on that bit, and I think it is a well crafted game, and like their support service for it is good. It's just the very concept of the gacha system of, you know, opening this pack of cards and getting, you know, maybe whatever random thing, and they're like, only these ones you actually want, and then also when you actually go to the shop and you're like, oh, you know, I'll spend a little money, and then they're like, okay, would you like to spend $200? And you're like, I don't know about that.
So the really funny thing about Pokemon Go is because of the currency in Australia and the rules of Google Play and things like that.
Yeah.
You get better bang for buck spending $1 than you do spending $200.
Right.
So like, if you spend $1 200 times, you'll end up with like $20 more worth of stuff. Because it just had to be that way, cause the way the conversions work. Because I think the minimum thing they're allowed to do is like 99 cents for X amount.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. It's kind of good though, because it means that I'm only ever going to spend 99 cents at a time.
Right, but that 99 cents over time, you'll look back at it and you'll be like, I've spent $500 on Pokemon.
Yeah. How did this happen? You know what? I'm okay with that choice.
I think if you budget for stuff, it's all right. You know, I spend a fair amount on games as it is anyway, so it's like, okay, well, I mean, I'm just not going to buy a new Assassin's Creed, which I'll hate anyway, or something like that.
Yes.
Oh gosh, yeah. If we start talking about how much we've spent on games, I don't want to talk about how much I've spent on sim racing shit. Oh my god, like, yeah. Let's not have that conversation. Let's move into news.
Right.
Let's do that.
Let's do news real quick.
We've got a couple of news stories to talk about because news is always happening, as Patrick will attest to.
Yeah.
We may as well quickly, so I don't want to dwell on this, but we're going to open up with the sad news first. I think with EB closing down Game Informer Australia,
right?
Yep.
Which is fucking shithouse news.
It's very shit.
Unfortunately, looking back at all of the reporting that's come out of the States on GameStop and how they are doing exceedingly poorly. it has to be said it's not all that much of a surprise,
No.
but it is still a massive shock.
Right.
Mostly because we have a tiny little games media industry here in this country, and
Dave does good work. So
yeah, David Milner is absolutely one of the best that we have to offer, and that he has lost his post seems
Especially when
cruel.
he was saying that sales were up. So it's not like this was a factor of GameStop that was like losing money. It was,
no,
if anything, it was kind of profitable. And he'd already said that he hadn't had freelancers for about a year, so it was just him there. So it's not like they were paying money to other people. It was just him, like, curating the magazine for Australian audiences and probably making them a little bit of money. And
that's it.
Like, that's why it felt weird to me. Like, not only is it because he does such good work, but also I get that they're just cutting costs everywhere, but I don't know if this was a place to cut them.
Yeah, and also it kind of, I think that maybe one of the most shocking parts, I mean, just aside from the fact that, it's now gone and it just happened so quickly, is just how much of an effect the GameStop troubles in the States are clearly having on EB here in Australia, because it's not something that you ever think about or really ever hear about all that much. But it's EB in Australia that made this choice to close that off. Like EB in Australia, I'm pretty sure is owned by
GameStop.
Is owned by GameStop, but it's run by like a really core group of people.
Right.
And that decision, as far as I'm aware, came from within Australia. So clearly their troubles are seeping down here, and it sort of makes me wonder what's going to happen.
I mean, EB's
moving
always
forward.
been trouble for as long as I can remember.
Well, you see, you say that, but it's only going to get worse, which kind of leads into our next news story about the new Xbox One S model being released, the Xbox One X all digital, or Xbox
So on
One
the note
sad.
of like EB thing, they've moved into a lot of merch with like their Zing stores and stuff like that, and like you can't walk into an EB store without like a wall of pop vinyls like trying to punch you in the face. So I think that's kind of their survival tactic right now, is like stay afloat on raft of cheap plastic.
I mean, games, not to dwell on it too much, but I mean, GameStop published a video game in 2017 or 2016.
Was that Song of the Deep?
Song of the Deep.
Yeah.
Which wasn't a bad game by any stretch. It was actually all right, but it didn't sell all that great, and they haven't published another game since.
I mean,
so I don't think that worked out too well for them.
I mean, physical vectors have always had massive competition with digital and with other storefronts as well. What was it that got out of games? Was it Kmart? I think Kmart got completely out of games maybe a year or two back, I think.
Yeah.
They did.
Yep.
Yeah, except they're selling Fortnite toys.
Well, yeah, but that's because Fortnite has its own range of merch.
Fortnite's not a video game, it's a way of life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you joke, but it kind of is for these kids, right? Like, it's something that you can sell.
It's a cultural phenomenon.
It's how they go and hang out with their friends after school. It's the playground they go and hang out with their mates on.
Wild. Understanding that was a big help, because it was just like, it's just like the way I treated Left 4 Dead back in the day, or whatever, or Team Fortress or something like that. It's just like, it's the same thing, just more friendly and with more merch.
Oh man, I logged into Fortnite to try it out on the Razer phone, and with the controller, it works pretty good. But that's like the first time I've touched it in a really long time, and I've never seen a game look more like a free-to-play game than Fortnite now does. Like, it's all these like accessories and different things. I described it to a friend of mine, as like a bubblegum punk dumpster that may or may not be on fire. But it also looks like super commercial. Like, you can just tell that this is money to like look these ways, you know what I mean? And like, there was a guy that was like a gingerbread man, and he had like a tiny gingerbread man on his back. And I was like, what is this? And then there was like a Christmas tree over there, and like some like Easter bunny thing.
I mean,
it's kind
of funny you say that, though, because like you describing that makes me think of the latter days of Team Fortress 2, or maybe of World of Warcraft.
Like with all
even.
the hats?
Yeah, when they just like started shitting hats all over the game, or like when World of Warcraft, when you or Dota, where you could just get mounts and like stuff, all sorts of bizarre stuff, and obviously
That's what it really does feel like. Only like more than I
more
ever
so,
thought
right?
any of those.
Shit.
Yeah. And it was wild to me, and I was like, wow, this is. You can see what this game is like.
It's the new normal, though. These kids, they've never known the grey walls of CS Office or whatever the fuck we were playing. I don't remember.
It's not so much that, it's just there's that incredible design consistency that comes with all the randomness that is what really spun it. Like, I like bright and colourful. I like that are, grey and drab, but it was just definitely like, I think I described it to another friend of mine as like a Christmas tree that's been decorated by like a 5-year-old, where they just put like all the ornaments on it like everywhere. Like
it's the clash of design, right? There's no purity, there's no singularity of vision.
No, there's no one vision, right?
Right.
That's what it looks like. It's like a toy box. It's like looking into a kid's toy box. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fortnite, cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
And they're all dancing all the time.
Oh my god. Crazy whack
I think
shit.
I've just sounded as old as I ever. Yeah, the discless buddy, mate.
It totally looks like Neo from the first Matrix film, where he had his mouth covered over by skin.
Aww.
That's what it looks like.
You feel like they're
that is an Xbox ad, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is. It even has the tinge of green. Oh my god, they were telling us all along. 20 years in the making.
The Matrix knew.
So
yeah,
it's 250
the
US. Is that right?
were on it.
Yeah, I'm
It's 250
pretty
US?
sure it is.
This is
250
what
US,
confuses me because it doesn't seem
which is
cheap
the same.
enough,
It's the same fucking price as the standard Xbox,
right? Like, what is it doing that's justifying this price?
So I think it does come with 3 games. It comes with one. I know 2 of them. It's Sea of Thieves, and Forza Horizon 3.
Oh, what?
Funnily enough.
Okay.
Not 4.
What? Okay.
Yeah, not 4, but 3. Which is
weird.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do 4. You know what? I do know why they didn't do 4, because they want you to buy Game Pass.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that I think they've announced. They're doing something called like the Xbox Ultimate Pass, which is I think Game Pass and
Do they at least
Gold.
That makes a lot of sense.
Do they pack in a trial of Game Pass with all new Xboxes or whatever? Because that would seem like the logical thing to do.
Yeah.
They do.
Like get a month
They
or something,
do with Gold.
maybe 3 or something.
I think they offer like the first.
I think the first month is like
I don't
$1
know.
or something.
I have no idea.
I've definitely seen offers where the first game is $1, so that you can try it and they get your credit card details.
You do get a free trial with Game Pass.
I mean, everyone does that.
So
maybe not Nintendo, but everyone.
First 3 months for $1, apparently.
Yeah.
There we go.
So they're pushing that really
That's
hard.
That
such a
should
good
be.
deal,
It's,
though.
it's their strongest product, honestly.
Yeah.
They got some excellent games on this last month. They got Monster Hunter World and
Shit.
Prey. Like,
wow.
yeah. Fuck.
I'm so impressed.
Two really excellent games. Monster Hunter World, something I spent like 90 hours in, and Prey, I think, was one of the most underrated
Prey's
shooters of
fantastic.
2017. Yeah, it really is
great.
fantastic.
But I should really try Mon Hunt at some point.
Yeah, I want to try that. I haven't tried Prey's
DLC? Moonshot.
DLC. I want to try
Moonbreaker?
Mooncrash.
Moonshot?
Is it? Or
I want to say
Moonshot.
Moonshot's much better.
Moonshot.
Moonshot's the name of the Apollo program, I think, or something like that. Something like that. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, I need to play that. I heard that was really good.
I've only heard good things about it.
Hmm.
I've never played Prey because it seems too scary.
It
is. It is kind of terrifying. The mimics are intense.
Yeah, it's one of those games I played
nightmares.
in broad daylight with all the curtains up and stuff. You know, I'm a big scaredy cat. But
Although, same. I'm awful at horror games. Like, I tried playing Alien Isolation and could only play it 10 minutes at a time, and even then I think I got maybe 2 hours into the game and just went, I've had enough of this. I don't think I'm not really making any progress, because I think it was after sitting under a table for 10 minutes, like just watching the alien walk around and just going, maybe I can go, no, I'm just going to, I'll just die here.
I also heard Isolation was like a 30-hour game in a 10-minute, like in a 10-hour game or something like that. It was like,
no, thank you. I'll be right.
My issue with horror games, I have trouble with the scariness of them, but I also have like really bad terrors and dreams, and like that can set that off really badly.
Yeah.
So like even though the experience may be bad in itself, but like maybe enjoyable on some level, like I can't deal with the next week of like a horrible night.
Fair enough. You got to do what will get you some sleep.
Yeah. Life is enough of a nightmare.
Yeah. Okay, so we didn't really discuss the sad very much, but I don't know if there's much to say.
No, but well, I mean, there's not really much to say because we're coming out to like it's kind of the end of the life cycle for this one as well because we're all expecting Xbox to come out strong at E3.
That's so weird to me, actually. Like,
I kind of wonder why they didn't make an X version of this instead, or
how many years in are we onto the two major console cycles? Like
2020.
So the last generation was 8 years or 7 years.
Yeah, 7 I think.
PS3 to PS4 was 7 years.
So how long is the PS4
We're now at 7 years. No, it'll be 7 years
next year, I think.
Wow.
Next year, 2013 is
and
when
what bothers me about this is, for me personally, it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
So when PS4 and Xbox One came out, I was ready for new consoles. I was hyped. I was like, give me the goods. But I do not feel ready for new consoles.
Right.
I can't even
conceptualize what it is yet.
Yeah, and like we were seeing the graphical difference between like an Xbox 360 jumping to an Xbox One. You could see that, whereas like some of the new PlayStation games, especially like Forza, but God of War, those look incredible. Like Spider-Man look amazing. Like, what are these games? What are we getting out of this generation?
Yeah,
that is going to be enough to feel like a generation.
Right. So from the Wired article, at least the only thing that really stood out to me from the PS5 stuff that they were talking about, or
we may
whatever they're calling it
now.
I don't know, the PlayStation Next, whoever the fuck knows.
If you don't know what we're talking about, PlayStation sat down with who was it? It was Mark Cerny, their chief engineer,
chief Knack creator.
Yeah, exactly. Head of Knack Daddy.
Don't ever say that again.
That's cute. I like it.
Oh, I don't like it at all.
Sat down with Wired to talk them through their next gen console, which, for all intents and purposes, is going to be the PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm. And the main thing that stood out to me, at least, was just the load times because of the specialized SSD that they're putting in there or whatever.
Yeah, but like you can. So I saw that they had a comparison video of a PlayStation 4 game. So they had Spider-Man's load time on like the new sort of SSD versus what they're running now, and it was significantly quicker. But from what I've heard from people who have installed SSDs on their PlayStation 4, kind of the same.
Yeah, that's kind of just how an SSD works.
Yeah, SSDs are just really quick.
They're talking something up called 3D audio. Who knows what that's going to be? It could be Nintendo's HD Rumble, which no one knows about or notices at all.
Yeah, except for like if you play 1, 2,
if you shake an ice cube right by your head, I don't know.
And like there was the 8K TV support, but it's going to be
that's.
So we never really got
neither here nor there.
Like how many 8K HD TVs, 8K TVs are there going to be out in the world? Like, you know, it's 4K TVs already a belly.
The thing that really bothers me about this, and this is a bit of a personal, is when the new consoles were coming out, my partner and I decided to buy a 4K TV because they were all talking about having 4K content. We were like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's be a first adopter and spend a lot of money on this thing that we're going to get a lot of use out of, and we justified it to ourselves. So we bought this really beautiful TV, and we still have it. It's still pretty good, so maybe not the worst decision. But anyway, a lot of money. None of the consoles ran 4K games when they came out.
They barely ran
now.
1080 60.
Right? And like
when they came out.
Even like so the Xbox One X kind of does 4K games now, but like
select few, yes, but they are in native 4K.
Yeah. So like it's only just kind of getting there now. So I kind of just don't believe it when they say that they're going to be running proper 8K games. No,
they won't. It'll be 8K upscaling is what I think they're talking about.
Or I think the way Xbox, they got away with it last generation they could run 4K content, not game.
Yeah.
So, like, if you had a pre-rendered cutscene or something, like, that could be 4K.
Right.
Yeah, like the 4K Blu-ray player on the Xbox, for example.
Like, I think that's what they were, like, actually talking about, but they were not.
Sure.
And I just, like, they say, show it to me, buddy, and then show me a TV that's not going to cost me, like, $10.
Right, it's because they've got to develop for both ends of the market, right? Like, because they want to sell this thing, so they can't only sell to 8K users, but they also want to sell to 8K users because they're trying to push the... I mean, it's the same paradox that every new console comes into, except Nintendo, because Nintendo's going to be off doing their own goddamn Twee thing. Who knows what the hell they'll do?
I love them.
Yeah. It'll just be made of cardboard.
Mini Switch.
Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
So,
it'll be delightful, whatever it is, but...
I'm always of the mindset that, like, I want these things to be good, right? Like, you don't want something to release and for it to be shit. And I want it to be good, and I want to feel excited about a new generation. But I don't feel ready for it, and they're going to need to sell me on it, and I don't know how they...
I think it's also maybe because games as a service has gotten so big, especially over the last couple of years. And I
actually think this will be the last generation jump that we have after this one, seeing more streaming boxes.
Maybe just sitting on platforms.
Yeah.
I hate it.
I'm sorry.
I don't want that. Don't want our streaming future.
It's not going to work in Australia until...
I mean, not until
I don't know.
Ever.
Yeah, who knows?
Until the heat death of the universe.
Yeah, 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
It's all right. We don't have to worry about Stadia until next year. I actually sat down and watched the Google Stadia announcement from GDC.
Completely forgot about that.
Like last week. I sat down and watched it again last week. Just, cause I was interested. I was like, oh yeah, Stadia is a thing. I wonder when that's happening.
Do you think Amazon's doing anything in that area?
Well, maybe. I don't know. They're exploring their own shit with Twitch at the moment. And they do have a couple of games. They do have Amazon Game Studios that put out that god-awful The Grand Tour video game.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just fucking abysmal. And then...
Worse so better than Conan?
They've also got... their engine is being used by... the Benz's new studio, Leslie Benzies, the dude
Fixer
from Rockstar. Yeah, his new studio is, and their game called Everything, I think is what.
Oh right, yeah.
You can't name something that.
I didn't know he was behind it.
You can. Somebody already did.
Like that's illegal.
There's another game called Everything on the PlayStation, isn't there?
I think so.
There's Everybody's Golf.
Made Mountain.
But is it really
that game is amazing. I love that game.
Sorry.
I just thought up one more bit of news that I think might be worthy of talking about while we're talking about PlayStation stuff. And I only just thought of it because Hope said Everybody's Golf. And apparently if you change your name on the PlayStation, Everybody's Golf is one of the games that won't work.
Oh, that won't work. Won't
anymore.
Keep your saves.
How much does that suck? Not that I need to change my PlayStation name.
Yeah.
I should probably change my PlayStation. So
what
relevant.
the fuck? Why does it just changing your name break these games all of a sudden?
This is why they haven't done it, right? For like such a long time. Because they knew there'd be problems.
Because they made so many god-awful fucking decisions.
Someone must have stored a variable as tied it to your online profile. I think what it was that your online profile ID, so you don't have a unique ID signature, no,
it's just your name.
Right.
Yeah.
So on Xbox or Nintendo or something, you'd have XYG's 30045 whatever. Apparently on PlayStation, it's just tied to your actual name.
Come on, Sony, come on.
I don't know.
They never thought anybody would want to change their name ever, which I guess makes sense from a company that's been like PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3.
Oh, God. You know what? That's a really good note to end this on, I think.
All right.
Thanks so much, you guys,
for
coming and hanging out. So we've been trying to do this for, I don't know, it feels like months now.
I think it's been 2 months.
And we might have actually just sat down and finally fucking recorded one of these things successfully.
It'd be nice to get this on more of a schedule, just so that we can react.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Bloodlines 2 just because Bloodlines 2, but it's been 3-4 weeks since the announcement. That was a fucking crazy announcement, by the way. What the hell?
That was
so
beautiful
fun.
and weird and
It was just they just put a bunch of LARPers on stage. It was awesome.
Right? Like, just give it to me. I don't even care.
But yeah, I'd like to be able to react to stuff in a timely fashion.
I also think that once we get this moving a bit, we might start, if people are interested in taking some questions about dumb things. So,
at some point, yes, we will have an email address. We will have all of those things at some point in the future.
So that we can be asked cool or dumb things.
Yeah.
We want your questions, and when we have an email address for you to send things to. Yeah, exactly.
We're just like every other company out there.
All right. I think that's going to do us here.
Yep.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
On behalf of Hope and Patrick, I'm going to say goodbye. We'll see you next time. Peace.